Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Maserati Grecale Modena. Before we get into this video though, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Maserati of downtown Salt Lake for giving me some time with this car. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So powering the Modena version of the Grecale is a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 29 on the highway, with power outputs being 325 horsepower and then 332 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see two distinctive lines there in the center, and then we've got some more subtle lines off to the side. Now popping down to the headlights, I think they look really cool, especially with the daytime running lights, and then of course got the Maserati Trident there, and then another one down below. You can see the parking sensors here at the bottom, and then I love the venting here on the front end, gives it an aggressive appearance. Putting it all together, I think the Grecale looks really good. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Porsche Macan in terms of the styling. Now coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 255, 40, 21 in the front, and then 295, 35, 21 in the rear. And then when it comes to the wheel design, I love how you've got the silver on the top. And then if we actually take a few steps closer, you guys can see with the red brake caliper, I think that also pops. Now I've got these really nice body painted fender flares. Notice the Modena badge here on the side. And then you guys can see here with the silver there on the door handles. And taking a look at the side view here with the Grecale, especially with this silver paint, it looks fantastic actually. Now here's our key fob. We have our unlock function or lock function, and then notice we've got that to open up the hatch, and then got another Maserati logo there on the back. Now actually popping into the rear of the Grecale, first off you'll notice that we have a little charging port right there, and then we have these latches to throw down the seats to give you even more storage, cargo cover built in from the factory, and look at that, I even have the Maserati Trident here on the little cargo liner. If you're wondering, overall storage space though is pretty dang solid, and then just press this button here at the top and that will lower the hatch right back down. Now taking a look at the taillights, I love how they swoop down in normal Maserati fashion. Of course we got our Grecale badge here, and then you guys can see Maserati there front and center. And then we do have parking sensors here at the bottom, and look how aggressive these exhaust tips here, and then look at the diffuser as well. And finishing things up with the rear, I think it looks really cool, and the overall shape kind of reminds me of the Audi Q8. So this looks like Porsche on the front and then Audi on the back, with just like the design theme. Now taking a look at the door panel, first off notice that you've got leather trim here at the top and down below as well. I love the stitching design here too, and then you've got like the black that kind of dissects it, and then you can see here for the sound system. And then notice with the whole window control setup right here, and then yes, electronic poppers for the doors. And then of course Maserati Trident there on the seat, and then look at the design all down the center portion of the seat. Now legroom here in the back is actually really good. We've got some storage right here, and if we actually press this, we've got our own climate zone in the back as well, and then you can see with the heated seat controls, and then we've got some vents here in the rear on top of that, and then of course we have a cup holder armrest. And then headroom back here is also really good. Now taking a look at the front door panel, you can see again with the leather trim here at the top, and then with the red leather down below. And then look at how crazy the speaker is for the sound system. All of our window controls here with like a mirror adjustments, you know, all the normal practical car stuff. And then we do have blind spot monitoring with the mirrors too. That's pretty cool with the logo there on the headrest, and then you can see perforated all down the center portion. We do have our power adjustments here on the side, and then you've got all of your pedal set up down below, and a parking brake right here, and then again just everything's like wrapped in leather. It looks really nice. So taking a look at the steering wheel, I love the overall shape and design. It just, I don't know, it has like a really cool look, and the grips on it are really solid as well. What you notice is we've got these paddle shifters here in the back. They're mounted to the column in normal Maserati fashion. Even the airbag cover has nice stitching leather trim on it. And then we have normal practical car controls like adaptive cruise control, for example. We've got, you know, your voice command volume controls. I love the engine stop starts on the steering wheel. That makes it feel pretty special. And then notice we got like our drive mode select and your suspension select here on the steering wheel as well, which kind of adds to the special feel. Now I've got this full digital gauge cluster here in the center, which we can use to scroll through some different menus, see different bits of info on the vehicle itself. And then we can adjust stuff like the suspension. Notice it'll pop up with the sport suspension setting there. And then we've got the drive modes too. Notice how it actually changes the gauge cluster depending on the drive mode that you're in, which again, it just adds to the flair. Now in reverse, we do have a 360 camera system, so you can see out of like literally every single angle here with the Grecale, which frankly, it's not really needed because it's not a huge crossover, but it's nice that it has it. Okay, so just a fair warning, there's gonna be a little bit of glare with this screen just because of the time of day that it is. First off, got a shortcut bar here with the infotainment screen. It does take a second for some of the menus to load up, but it's actually pretty dang responsive overall. And you know, it's frankly, it's easy to use, so I'd say they did a good job. Now, before we dive down to the second screen, I want to mention, look at the dash with just the material use, and then you guys can see the clock here on the dash, and then notice with the vents how it like all connects with the trim. Just a really beautiful design here. And then down below, you guys can see here with the gear select setup here, it's a bunch of little buttons that you press. And then this is an interesting control stack. So it's a secondary screen. This is where you control the climate zone. This is where you also control the seats, for example. So like I can turn on the cooled seat function if I want. This is also where you can control the lights. And then you've got your different seat adjustments that you can also go through. You've got like your ambient lighting. There's lots of different things you can customize, but this is basically the control tab for a lot of the stuff in the vehicle. And then also hill descent control, as if anyone would take a Grecale off-road. You can see we've got a wireless phone charging pad, and then we've got this trim right here, which just opens up. Got some more charging action. I like how it closes. That's kind of like a cool feel with that. Some more cup holder action, and then we can, oh, there we go. It's the center console. Got another little charging port in there. The tab's kind of in it's not in a super weird place, but it's kind of strange. Anyways, leather trim here, and then also on the side, like everything that you look at pretty much is covered in leather. Speaking of leather, look at that dash. That's beautiful. Glove box, nicely lined with felt. And yeah, even the glove box has some nice padding. The handle feels high quality. Now, popping up top here, we do have a darker colored headliner, and it's got like a nice texture to it. I know it's a weird thing to mention, but it just does. And then you guys can see here with the panoramic sunroof, and then notice with the controls here for the sunroof. So here's our window sticker for the Grecale. I guess this one's a special edition. I am not even going to attempt to pronounce that. Yeah. Anyways, I like how it gives a little definition. It's like, celebrates the launch of Maserati's all-new SUV. And you get 4 years of prepaid maintenance. That's a deal, because Maserati maintenance is definitely, it's expensive. Anyways, notice the base price, $72,900. This one, of course, has options. I want to focus on some stuff. So notice this has a limited slip differential. So like, this has been tuned towards like sporty driving. So this is, again, sports SUV. That's why a lot of people might compare it to the Macan. But anyways, options are plentiful. So the special edition package, $7,100. And then you guys can see the total MSRP on this after all options, $90,197. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before you set off. Here's your visibility of the hood, and you can hopefully now see the heads-up display, which has a full map view, which is pretty cool. Both of the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, that always gets me. Anyways, all the brakes set off. Let's set off. Okay, so setting off in the Grecale, aka I think one of the most underrated luxury SUVs out there right now. And actually, let's turn on our ventilated seat because it's quite toasty today. We finally have warm weather. This says 93 degrees. I don't think that that's accurate, but maybe it's because we're sitting in the sun. Maybe that's crazy though, because like literally I was filming like in 20-degree weather last week. So like if that's really how warm it is in Salt Lake right now, that's a bit of a temperature swing. But regardless, I think this is just a huge step forward for Maserati. Now, I already reviewed the GT version, and I was super impressed with that. This Modena version takes things up a notch, because the GT is obviously the base model. That's like the, you know, bargain version, whatever you want to call it. Whereas this is kind of like your middle of the line version, right? And this is what you'll most commonly see, you know, ordered with Maserati dealers is Modenas, because you get more performance than a GT, but you're not paying as much money as you would for something like a Trofeo version of a Maserati, right? Now ride quality on this is actually really good. They've done a really good job with the overall chassis tuning with this. I think that's fantastic. I want to pop the suspension in the sport mode to see how that changes things. Oh yeah, that makes it pretty. You can instantly, I want to take a turn with it, but yeah, it makes it pretty bumpy, which makes sense, right? It's sport suspension, it's making everything a little bit stiffer. I will say the seats are really comfortable. They hold you in place really well too. Yeah, it does. I mean, this handle, again, this is more like a sports car than an SUV. Pop into the sport mode though. So we're in full manual mode here. We'll get another acceleration in a moment, but man, this transmission's so responsive. These paddles, they feel so cool. It really like amplifies the experience here with the Grecale, and just any Maserati, right? Yeah, it's so fun. I wish more automakers would do these paddles, but you know, I'm sure it's not the cheapest thing on the planet to do large paddles like this. But yeah, and the overall feel of the paddles, like, they're very high quality feeling, that's for sure. So, you know, kind of initially summing things up here with the Grecale, I think it's a really, you know, seeing it now again for the second time in person, I think it's a really cool vehicle, especially when you get in colors like this. I think you have to get this car in like a more flashy color. I think there's Maseratis in general. Like, they look okay in the base colors, but you have to get them in flashy colors. By the way, I hate this one-way road. Worst road on the planet. But anyways, it's so torquey. Yeah, I just think that they look best in flashy colors. This transmission's so responsive too. You know, I know that Maserati doesn't exactly have the best reputation, right? But what I will say is modern Maserati, like, especially this shows it, like, everything's super tight, like nothing moves. It's all, like, you can tell, like, super tight interior. It's so fun to drive. Maserati's like completely changed their cars. I think a big part of what Maserati has to do over the next bit is just kind of like help people to understand, right, the changes that they've made on their vehicles. Because I mean, this thing drives really well. It's comfortable. It has a very nice looking interior, and the build quality, like, this has better build quality, I would say, than, you know, a lot of Audis and BMWs that I've tested recently. And I feel like Audi and BMW right now have really good build quality. But, like, you know, sometimes, like, with like the Audi RS3 I had, like, the dash, like, there was some like rattles and everything there, but like this is all very like tight. Like, this obviously wiggles because it's supposed to, because that's your vent adjustment, but like, you guys get the point. They've definitely brought up the build quality a massive amount. The only thing, here's my only gripe: I don't think that there should be a 2-liter 4-cylinder Maserati. I understand that this is going to be more fuel efficient, and I understand the performance is still there, but I think their base powertrain should be the turbocharged V6, and then they should still keep the V8s, and, you know, maybe throw in some hybrid components. But I think keeping more exotic engines, I think that is more in line with the brand, because this thing looks super exotic on the outside, but then it has a, again, very well, like, the engine performs very well, but like, it's interesting that it has that engine under the hood. Let me know what you think about the new Grecale. Let me know if you would buy this over BMW X3, Porsche Macan, right? I'd be interested to hear that.